Are there any signs that Tuberville's tactics are working? I mean, keep in mind, he is protesting the Pentagon's decision to fund, abortions for military service women. Do you think that he's moving the needle at all, even just in terms of public opinion?
You've had cinema say, look, let's talk to him. Let's see what we can do here. And you do have appropriation season is coming to the end. The government has to pass government funding resolutions by the end of this month. And that will include language that funds the DoD. So I could definitely see Tuberville, who all along has said all he wants is a vote on the policy. He just wants an up or down vote in the Senate on the change in policy Biden made.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here today with commentary editor Conn Carroll. And Conn, you wrote a piece this week in the Washington Examiner about Senator Tommy Tuberville and his ongoing blockade of Pentagon confirmations. But you wrote about how Tuberville, despite all of the ire that Democrats are directing at him right now, doesn't really have as much power as the Democrats are ascribing to him.
Right. So, you had this op-ed by the three secretaries of the armed forces in the Washington Post, basically calling Tuberville, the secretary of, I think the Navy went on to call him basically a communist for doing this. What I found most ironic about the timing of this letter was it was coming on the very day that the Senate was coming back from vacation, a month-long vacation, really 5 weeks of vacation, where they did literally nothing. Nothing, literally nothing. They were gone. And so you have all these secretaries of the armed forces saying this is a national security issue, our nation's in danger, all that stuff. It's like, if it was really this big a problem, the Senate could have stayed in all through August and passed many and confirmed many of these nominees. But as I pointed out, look, Tuberville isn't Superman. He doesn't have the power to completely shut down the Senate. Since 2014, when Harry Reid pulled the nuclear option, the Senate has been able to pass any nominee, including these military nominees, on a majority basis, 51 basis. Yes, senators can slow it down, and with a Supreme Court justice or with a cabinet secretary, they can slow it down to 30 hours per nominee. But per the Senate rules, they can only slow it down to a minimum of 2 hours for each of these lower level nominees. And so I just did the math and said, look, if you assumed, just a 5-day work week, not even overtime, just
it's 8 hours. A lot to expect for our nation's leaders.
They're old. They're really old.
Right.
8 days, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 5 weeks. They could have confirmed over 100 of these nominees. Like, if it was really this big of a national security issue, you could have had 100 of these nominees. Why not do it? And the answer is that it's not that big a deal. This is not a national security issue. They just want the issue to campaign on, and they want to show the Republicans that they can win, and they want to quash this Tuberville objection.
Are there any signs that Tuberville's tactics are working? I mean, keep in mind, he is protesting the Pentagon's decision to fund, abortions for military service women. Do you think that he's moving the needle at all, even just in terms of public opinion?
You've had cinema say, look, let's talk to him. Let's see what we can do here. And you do have appropriation season is coming to the end. The government has to pass government funding resolutions by the end of this month. And that will include language that funds the DoD. So I could definitely see Tuberville, who all along has said all he wants is a vote on the policy. He just wants an up or down vote in the Senate on the change in policy Biden made on funding abortion.
That's interesting. So he's not saying get rid of it or else. He's saying just let us weigh in on this policy.
Yeah,
is what he's saying.
Give us an up or down vote. Has been his ask.
Do you think that the vote would go up or down? Do you have a sense?
I think the vote will happen in some way. I think this does get resolved in some manner.
But how would you predict that it gets resolved? Do you think the votes are there to implement this policy?
Well, no, because you have the Democrats have the majority. They have 51, so they have the numbers to win.
Is this a piece of legislation that would have to pass on the 60 vote threshold, or could it pass at the simple majority?
It's up to the Senate.
It's up to the
They
Senate.
can do what they want.
So they're obviously not going to want to set the higher threshold
Correct.
if they want this to pass. Shifting gears a little bit, Bidenomics, we've heard a lot about it. It's a selling point if you ask Joe Biden. The Examiner this week had an editorial about one pretty troubling sign of how bad the economic picture is for a lot of families, and that's consumer debt. Tell us about that.
Consumer debt is at literally record high levels. It's never been this high before. When you say consumer debt, most of that is going to be mortgage debt. that's at all-time high. But even if you get rid of mortgage debt, you have student debt, you have credit card debt, and you have auto loan debt. And so what you see is a lot of CEOs of like JCPenney, Macy's, a lot of these retailers saying we are seeing the use of credit cards go up, and we're seeing delinquencies that are at record highs too. So when we have inflation, as that's the foundation of Bidenomics, is spending a ton of stimulus to drive up inflation. When you have this high inflation, what that means is it drives up credit card interest rates. So when you have working families that are struggling and already had credit card balances coming into high inflation, those balances are now even higher, which means on top of everything else, meaning the stuff they buy today costing more money, the payments they have to make on the stuff they bought yesterday also is a lot higher. So it's a double hit for these working families. And when you see people like Paul Krugman and all these Democratic operatives say, oh, employment's so low, the economy is going, why does no one like this economy? It's like they're just not in reality. They just don't understand that working families are still paying $700 more a month for goods and services. And because of inflation on the credit card end of it, they're also paying even more for stuff they bought in the past.
Well, Conn, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
You can get more writing from Conn and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.